everyone, and welcome to another edition of this week's Ron Swanson's List of Sweatiness. It is Parks and Recreation, Season 5. We are in the home stretch. As usual, I am your friendly neighborhood soda, as always, joined by my good friend Ben, Big Fudge Rainer. How are you doing?
I'm really good. I'm excited to talk about this season. This might be my favorite season, but I don't know.
This is a very, very good season because we got quite a few developments in the season. Some really great moments, introductions of new characters. Overall, this is a good season.
Yeah, why don't we get right into it? Why don't we start off?
Okay, so my number 5 is How a Bill Becomes a Law.
Not on any of my list.
Just give me a moment. I don't even have my Wikipedia thingy up. Parks and Rec, Season 5. All right. How a Bill Becomes a Law. Somewhere up here. Okay. Leslie negotiates with a hateful fellow city councilman who passes a bill extending public pool hours. Chris creates a 311 hotline for citizens to call with their problems, leading Ron to help a citizen, Diane, fix a pothole in front of her house. In Washington, D.C., Ben and April take a road trip to visit Leslie and Andy. So what do you think of this? What did you think of this episode, Ben?
I liked it, and I know why it's number 5, because when one meets Diane, right?
Correct. This is the introduction of Lucy Lawless as Diane, who would end up becoming Mrs. Ron Swanson later on in the series. She calls to get someone to fix her pothole. Nobody's doing it, so Ron says, fine, I'll do it. He comes over with Andy, who ends up playing with the kids. Ron's the one who fixes the pothole. But somewhere along the line, Ron actually gets feelings for her, and Andy can sense it out. So he actually hatches a plan to get Diane to ask him out. Basically, he went outside of her house with cement chalk, and wrote, "Ron likes you. Come out, please ask him out." And she does. And Chris, who in this season is in therapy because he realizes he has a lot of issues, decides to create a 311 helpline. So basically just like a call if you have any issues and what have you, because he wants to make the parks more successful. You can expect how that goes. So Ben and April are in Washington because at the end of season 4, Ben got offered a job to run a congressional campaign. So they decided to surprise Andy and Leslie and decided to drive to Pawnee. However, they got stuck in the underground parking with very little gas, and the car runs out of gas, of course. So that's their whole subplot. They're stuck in the underground parking. This is the introduction also of Councilman Jam, who is quite the character, as we will see coming up later on. But basically, he's the only one standing in the way of Leslie extending the pool hours. They end up having to play pool, and she had to trade her beautiful office to him in order to get his vote. And at the end, Tom, who's fed up with him, just pushes him in the pool.
Don't you love this character?
Oh, yeah. He's such a great antagonist because he's such a douche.
Yeah. Agreed. I would almost call him maybe like the Ryan of Parks and Rec.
The Ryan? Oh, yeah.
Like from The Office.
Yeah, but Ryan gradually became a twat, whereas Jam is just a twat. Like they're both twats in two different ways. Ryan is just a dick, and Jam, he's a dick, but he's crazy.
I would argue Ryan was a different kind of dick early on, and then
for sure.
I don't think Ryan was ever a good guy.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah. Be honest, they're both assholes.
Of course.
But you like to laugh with them or laugh at them.
Of course. What's your number 5, Ben?
Are you better off?
Sorry?
Are you better off?
Not on my list.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm misremembering one. Didn't Ron and Diane get married in the finale of
They
this
do,
season?
correct. They do get married in the
No,
finale.
yeah, that is this episode.
Yeah.
And the way you were talking about that earlier made me question it. But the reason I have this on my list is because I love Ron and Diane's relationship, and I love how quickly and how simple they want the wedding to be. Opposed to what they get earlier in the season with another wedding. I'm not going to spoil whose wedding it is, but everyone can take a clue.
Yeah.
What do you think of this episode?
So it is a good episode. Yeah, basically Leslie gets recalled because the town folk of Pawnee are against all the positive changes she's made. And that is the whole question. Is just like, are you better off with or without Leslie? Nope. And it's a very solid finale. And also this finale gives us one of the probably the most famous Parks and Rec gif.
Okay.
It's the one of Andy who's being all surprised.
I know, but that means this is also the same episode where you realize he's pregnant.
I'm mistaken. The marriage between Ron and Diane is actually episode 1 of season 6.
Okay. Yeah. I made a mistake.
Yeah, you did. I did as well because basically the end tag of this is Diane walking in because Andy's subplot is he's trying to find out whose pregnancy test it was at the cabin. And he's eliminated all of his friends, and then Diane walks in, and that's when we get the famous gift of Andy turning to the camera going, oh, yeah.
I remember watching this for the first time, and I remember messaging you, move on my gift, move on my gift, move on my gift.
Yep, 100%. That is where the gift comes from.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it is the last time we see Heavy Andy.
Yes.
Next season.
It is next season where most of his stuff is in London because he was filming Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Volume 1, yeah.
1. Yeah,
they weren't at 2 yet.
No. There's Imperial Guardians 1.
Yeah, even though Guardian 2 is not that bad.
No, but you find out really big. Oh wait, no, it's coming out after. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 4 is the episode 2 Parties.
On my honorable mentions.
Anne throws Leslie a bachelorette party that gets interrupted by a scheming Councilman Jam's attempts to put a fast food restaurant on Lot 48. Chris holds a bachelor party, but ends up throwing one for each of Jerry, Tom, Andy, and Ron when he learns that they did not have one before their weddings. Now, this is a great episode. The guys and the girls both off doing their own thing. It's like most bachelor parties, at least the one I attended anyways. The women's bachelorette party is supposed to be your stereotypical bachelorette party. Like there's strippers, there's penis-shaped everything. But the men's, Chris, what's his face? Ben wanted to do a board game night, which is fine. But during the conversations revealed that none of the other guys had a bachelor party before their thing. So they decided to each make it their own bachelor party. So Tom went to a club where they are doing experimental drinks. So instead of like drinking a scotch, you sniff it in. You do vodka by lights. Very, very Tom. Ron was the steakhouse.
Yeah.
Jerry was the ice cream shop where him and Gail first met. And as usual, Jerry pulls a Jerry, spills his cone, and right there, the ice cream man is right there. He's like, "Oh, we've always got a second one on hand for Jerry." And then the best one is Andy's, where they went and played with the Indianapolis Colts in their home stadium, and that was pretty dope.
I forget how they met in the story. I forgot how they managed to pull that off.
It's because Chris did a favor for the owner.
Okay.
Like they were involved in something anyways. They knew each other, so he called in a favor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Okay.
it makes me wonder just how close Indianapolis is to Pawnee. They never really specify that.
No, but I think you just have to use your imagination for it.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. It's supposed to be like Smallville and Metropolis.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been trying to think of another example that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 4, right?
Yep, you're number 4.
It might get printed, but Partridge? The
Not on
one
my list.
about what?
Not on my
Really?
list.
The
Yeah.
one about Ben's hometown?
Yeah, it didn't make my list.
Okay. Ben doesn't go to Ben's hometown because he thinks he's getting an award, but really they're setting up an elaborate prank to pull on him because why then? That really never occurred to me. Why did they pick that time to pull the prank? Do you know?
No, they didn't. They just wanted to do it.
Okay. So it was funny. The mayor of the town is J.K. Simmons, Oscar winning J.K. Simmons. It's a funny episode because it's funny, but at the same time, you really feel for Ben.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing how much pain he has because of this one screw up he had when he was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you never let a young kid meet me over a town.
Yeah, it is kind of a exactly. But still, like, just what they do to him, it's like, come on, man, like, enough.
No, I'm just saying, yeah. They have fun episodes.
Yeah, no, it has its moments, especially like Ben because he got kidney stones, and of course they're like, oh, of course he gets sick when we're supposed to give him the key. Yeah.
Whenever I hear kidney stones, I didn't think of that one doctor from Friends. Kidney stones.
Yeah, kidney stones. As someone who's had kidney stones, they are no laughing matter.
Yeah,
they really do hurt.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's like trying to pass fractured glass through a straw. Yeah, think about that for a second.
Okay. What are your number 3?
My number 3 is Article 2.
Hey, you know what? That's my number 3 too.
Oh, right on. Leslie sets out to remove the town's outdated laws, but receives opposition from a local history buff. Ron and April take a management training course led by Chris, while Anne and Ben struggle to get a great gift for Leslie. Really, the reason to watch this, Patton Oswalt is the guest star of this episode. He plays the town weirdo who is against revising the new laws, because the intro of this episode is, what did they call it again? Dunk.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact.
Yeah, basically it was like Dunk Ted Day or something like that. They would just get a guy named Ted and they would just throw him in the lake. And so basically, in order to resolve their conflicts, hold on. First off, we get the filibuster by Patton Oswalt, which they only show a snippet of him in the episode, but if you've ever seen the full one, the dude predicts Marvel and Disney like years before it happened.
Well, what's crazy about that is, not in the extended version, but in the TV version, as he's talking, you're using Chris Pratt in the room, which makes it even more surreal.
Yeah, with the good old Star-Lord in the room. But so that in order to settle the differences, Leslie challenges Patton Oswalt to a stay-in, I guess. They go to the historical museum place, and the idea is whoever can last the longest using anything that was invented pre the founding of Pawnee wins. And basically Leslie realizes along the way that the reason why Patton Oswalt's character is doing this is because he's very lonely and he's got nothing to do. So she placates to him by making him part of the Pawnee Historical Society, and he agrees to join because he's got a lot of work, a lot of people he's got to deal with, and he agrees to join in order to so Leslie can banish the laws like she wants. It's a good episode. Really, it's Patton Oswalt is the reason why you watch this. And then, of course, at the very end, it's revealed they're going to throw the Ted in the like day or whatever, but anybody could be a Ted. So the first one is Patton Oswalt. And just as they're about to throw him, there we get Chris Pratt streaking again through the episode. And he jumps in, and then Patton Oswalt says, "Thank God I can't swim."
No, I love Patton Oswalt in this. I kind of wish they brought back that character a few more times at least.
I don't know. I don't know if what would you have done with him? Like his character is so involved with the history of Pawnee. Like
I don't know, but
well, this is foreshadowing to season 6, but really, I could have if they were to have done that, the only other episode I could have seen them doing that in is when they did the merger.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I guess I just wanted to see Patton Oswalt in more stuff.
Well, who doesn't want to see Patton Oswalt? The dude's a genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so now my numero dos.
Yeah.
I might be slightly punted. Leslie and Ben.
No, because that was my number 2.
Fuck off. If our number ones are the same, this is going to be weird. So Leslie and Ben is the wedding episode of Leslie Knope and Ben. In the previous episode, Leslie had thrown a gala in order to raise money for the Pawnee Commons to get it done, to get the money in time so she can have it for what she wanted to build a park. And Ben and Leslie were talking, and they realized, you know what? We wanted to have a wedding with all our friends, and Leslie, you wanted to invite the entire town here. We've got black ties. We've got food. Let's get married tonight. So the whole episode is basically them trying to, in 2 hours, trying to pull off a wedding. Anne makes a great dress for Leslie out of all of the dress part of it is made out of all of Leslie's accomplishments as a government official, which was really cool. Ron ended up making the rings by ripping off Anne's sconce off the wall. And I don't know how he did it so fast, but managed to take 2 of the couplings and melt them down and make wedding rings in 2 hours.
He's Ron Swanson. He can do anything.
He's Ron fucking Swanson. What else is there? Oh yeah, Jerry and Donna were in charge of making sure nobody leaves. And yeah, Councilman Jam crashes because he's pissed off that Knope beat him because he wanted to put a paunch burger there. And so he shows up drunk with a megaphone and starts making a scene. And when the wedding starts, he starts to booing them. And just as Ben's about to do something, what's beauty is about Ron, whenever he's about to do something in this episode, because he's in his tux, he does the James Bond thing. Did you ever notice that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, when he walks in, when they're figuring out the wedding rings, he walks in the door frame, and the way he's standing is very James Bond-esque. And he does it again at the wedding. Because he says to Leslie Ben, "Don't worry, I got this." And he walks up and he said, tells Jam, "You're making a scene, leave. You're not welcome here." Jam gets, a little confrontational, pushes Ron, who tells him not to. Jam does it again. Ron knocks him right out. I think he even breaks his nose.
Yep.
And gets sent to jail, but gets set free because Jam's a tool and Ron's liked. And so they head back to the Parks Department. Can't remember what the excuse was. But Ron had said there was no way I was going to miss walking you down the aisle. And it's revealed that they had set up the Parks Department as the wedding venue. And they got married in the only place that makes sense, in the Pawnee City Hall, in the Parks Department, surrounded by all their friends and family. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wedding.
Sorry about that. Yeah, okay. It's a great episode. I love the reveal at the end about how everyone came together
Yeah.
to pull off the wedding. It shows great loyalty with them.
Yeah, it's one of the best TV weddings, just for how spot on it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew, I hate to say it, I think we have a thing number one.
Well, let's do the honorable mentions first.
I,
Okay, what do you have?
I'm trying to think if I should list which one of them was my number one. I have Jimmy's retirement, Tea Parties, and Wanda Diane.
I have Soda Tax, Leslie versus April, and Emergency Response.
Okay.
So now my number one, you just revealed your cards, and we do not have the same number one.
Okay, it's number one.
Ron and Diane.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Sorry.
This is probably in my opinion, the funniest episode. Ron and Diane go to a woodworking award show to recognize one of Ron's pieces when Tammy 2 shows up. Jerry and his wife throw a holiday party, and some of Jerry's coworkers are uninvited, while others are quite shocked by Jerry's stunningly happy domestic life. Now, first, let's talk about that. As it's revealed at the beginning of the episode that whenever Jerry does a screw up, the gang puts money in the jar, and at every year Christmas they go and they have a big fancy feast because it's usually a lot of money. Donna gets mad at them for making fun of Jerry while they're driving because of something Anne had said. And so she said, screw it, we're going to go to Jerry's and we're going to get him and he's going to come and have dinner with us. But then when they get there, it's revealed, no, he's actually in the midst of a Christmas party where he's invited Ben and April and Chris. And it turns out he had invited the others as well, but they had set all of Jerry's emails to go into their spam, so they hadn't gotten the last 3 years' invitations. So basically, it's them outside looking in on Jerry's great life, because this is where we finally see his wife Gail and his other daughters. And he has to be well hung. Let's just say that. Dear God. Because Christy Brinkley, man, like, come on.
Whoa, that is Christy Brinkley?
That's Christy Brinkley. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, that's Christy Brinkley.
No. You're not.
So yeah. So finally, Anne sees them standing outside. You know, she does the "I told you so." Jerry comes out, and the gang, who realizes, you know, it was a bad thing, they decide to give Jerry the money that they had to put towards his hospital bills, because earlier in the season Jerry had a fart attack. Yes, you heard that right. He had a fart attack. So they decide to give him the money, which was like a couple grand to help with his bills. But it's easily the A story that makes this the funniest. So to set this up, Ron, he submitted his chair into a contest, and he's getting it recognized. So Leslie shows up because she wants to, you know, help. You know, she wants to be supportive of Ron and stuff like that. And of course, he brings Diane, because why wouldn't he? It's a significant other. And of course, Tammy 2 shows up, and everything goes all to hell. But funny enough, it's not Tammy 2 that Diane is friend of. It's Leslie, because throughout the episode we see that just how attentive and how knowledgeable of Ron's life Leslie is. It's like she knows everything about him. So she feels threatened, and she actually leaves. So while Ron is up on the award stage, Tammy 2 is sitting front row, and we find out she's not wearing any underwear. She flashes Ron on the stage, who ends up getting so flustered he cuts his speech short. And that's when we find out that Diane had bailed from Leslie. Leslie, being the friend she is, says to Ron, I'll deal with Tammy 2, you go get Diane. So basically, she spends the whole night trying to stop Tammy 2 from getting Ron, to the point they end up in a car in the middle of nowhere, fighting in a dumpster. And then it's revealed at the end of the episode, Tammy steals the car and locks Leslie in the trunk. Ron and Diane had to go get it. It was like, what the hell? But Ron, he goes to Diane's house. He apologizes, and he says he takes her to a bar in Eagleton. He says to her, like, look, Leslie is a dear friend. and someone who I care very deeply about, but I do not feel that way about her. And he says, it's you, Diane, I love you, da, da, da. And he says, I'm about to show you something that very few people know, not even Leslie. And he introduces her to Duke Silver. And that's how you know he loves her, because he introduces to her to one of his biggest secrets, Duke Silver. Yep. No, it's great, because this is the next step. Ron is being serious here.
I love this episode. You're right. I think I didn't pick it for my number one because I knew you were going to have it. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great episode.
Yeah, and really for the true laughs, it's Leslie and Tammy too going after each other. That's why you watch the episode. Like this is one of the ones I recommend. This episode, I recommend all of them, but this one has my stamp of approval.
Yeah,
okay, so now I'm curious. What is your number one?
Halloween.
I thought so. I thought that would be your number one.
Throughout the episode, Ben is contemplating taking on another job or coming back to Pawnee. And throughout the episode, you realize, you think he's taking the job, but Leslie is still under the impression he's coming home. So she bought a house.
Yeah. So what happened was Ben is at this point in time. Ben's campaign is finishing up, so he's supposed to be coming home to Pawnee. So they're going to move on with their lives together, and they're going to buy a house together. Because as Leslie said, she doesn't want Ben moving in because it's practically a rat's nest. So that's why they're in the house, because they're buying their home that they're going to move in together. But Ben throws the kink in the plans, because he gets offered a chance to run a congressional campaign for a Florida gentleman who's running for senator. And we do get that a little bit. We see how good he is at his job and why, what's her face?
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, but her character's name. Jennifer Barkley wanted to hire him. If you want to take it away after that, because I set you up for.
So Leslie's in the house. Ben shows up. He has a box. He gives it her. She opens it. He knocks his head. She says, okay, pause. I just want to remember this for as long as I can.
Yeah.
That's right. Ben is proposing to Leslie. And one of my favorite TV proposals.
Agreed. The reason why she's in the house is because she thinks that Ben is taking the job, because that's, like you said, that's the direction we are led to believe. So she wants to be there to see the house one last time, which hasn't given up. That's when Ben shows up saying, you know what? I know what I want for my future, and my future is you.
And kind of like a mixture of, for instance, it's kind of a mixture of, I got off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a Cancella's proposal.
Agreed. It kind of is, yeah.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
It is so simple.
And sometimes simple is the best way to go.
What do you think is A, more simple, and B, more romantic? This, all the way to him proposes to Pam, outside in the rain, in between.
That's about as simple as it gets, because that one wasn't planned. So I'd say that one's probably the more simple of the two. The more romantic, however, will go to Leslie and Ben.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah, it was like Jim and Pam's was very romantic. It was in the rain and stuff like that, but it seemed very spur of the moment, as opposed to Ben and Leslie's, which is very Ben and Leslie.
Yeah. You got a good idea for a top 5 from Get City. Anywho,
that's it.
I guess that's it. Anything
that was a quick one because we had the same 2 and 3.
Well, that's what happens when you introduce me to a great show. we are similar wavelengths. What do we have to look forward to in season 6?
Okay, in season number 6, we have to deal with Leslie dealing with the consequences of the recall vote. You have London, which is the 2-part season opener, which was done to allow Chris to allow an explanation for why Chris Pratt wasn't there while he was filming Guardians. So that's a great episode. We have a great guest star who was a co-star of Chris Pratt's in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh shit, he was.
And the original voice of Darth Maul.
Voice of the...
He voiced Darth Maul in Phantom Menace.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
What else do we have? Oh, yes. As I mentioned earlier, we have the Pawnee Eagleton merger. We have... Now, this is actually the bigger crux of the season. This is the season where Rashida Jones and and Rob Lowe leave the show as regulars. So the first part is... Anne's pregnant, and then when they reveal to Leslie that they're moving, some of the consequences of that are being dealt with. So that's a very major part of the first half of the season, is the lead up to Anne and Chris leaving. And it's a good, will make you cry episode.
Don't forget, Tom finally becomes successful at something.
Yes, he does finally become successful at something. However, somebody wants to buy out his business. The reason being is because John Ralphio's sister fucking lied. Great stuff. What else do we have? Oh yeah, we also have Leslie in her final days in office, finally saying screw it and playing dirty to get a bill to beat Jam one final time. The fluoride episode. But yeah, that's basically what the episode is basically the dealing with two characters leaving the show, and with Leslie's next step in her evolution. And the final episode is interesting because it ends on a flash forward.
Right. No.
It's what, 5 years?
No. There's one more season. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. No.
The final episode ends with a flash forward to set up the final season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, and we are also introduced to probably one of the weirdest games you've ever seen, the Cones of Dunshire, which was actually developed and was originally supposed to be sold, but that was so complicated they never did it. And actually, was it 3 or 4 people at I think it was Dragon Con actually played the game.
And we get some weird character people, new characters introduced.
Yeah, we get introduced to the Eagleton equivalent of the Parks Department. So we get to introduce a doppelganger, which in the episode Doppelgangers, we get introduced to the doppelganger of Ron. We get introduced to the person who did Don's job. We get introduced to, but yeah, basically everyone has their own doppelganger, and it's interesting to see how everybody deals with it, especially Ron and Ron.
Yeah. There's not one way, and then they go something completely different with the other one.
Yeah, so that's what we got to look for in season number 6. So, Ben, where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me right here on the channel. If you're watching this on Friday, you just watched us do a tier ranking of the MCU. If you haven't seen that yet, go watch that. It was fun. Every Friday on Recapping the Past. Every Saturday on Get Ready. Also, every Saturday on Map Smalldown, the show where we go into players' careers, except the summer. We're going into factions this week. We're going to keep diving into the suspects. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Right on. And as for myself, you can find me on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find me on almost all the shows that Ben has mentioned on this channel, except for Mount Schmodown. I sometimes will guest on that. You can also find me over on Friday nights, most time on Schmodown 9 in Canada, the occasional Sunday show as well. You can also find me Saturday nights producing Let's Talk About Star Wars, our Star Wars show with Taco and Gold Leader himself, Evan Bushkar. So definitely check that out. It's always a great time, always a barrel of laughs. I'm always trying to make those suckers crack. It's always fun. So yeah, so with all that, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week on Ron Swanson's list of sweatiness. And don't forget, everyone, stay sweaty.